What is up, YouTube? We are here today for the second episode of the 5D Spiritual Warriors podcast. I'm here with my good friends.
What's up, John Strick? Back at it again, baby.
And Sean Doherty and myself, Corey.
Yo, what's he doing?
So today we're going to be talking about the levels of consciousness, and we're going to be talking about consciousness itself, presence and awareness. Have some quotes from some spiritual teachers, and all right, so let's.
Oh, you got some edits.
You already see I'm already getting too involved in them.
All right, let's hit a couple questions.
Let's establish what consciousness is.
Consciousness is the fact of awareness by the mind of itself and the world. So that's saying that consciousness is self-awareness and awareness of the world, which is pretty simple to understand, I think. And what is consciousness experiencing? It's experiencing what your body perceives.
Whatever we're experiencing.
Exactly, whatever we're experiencing. It's the mechanism of experiencing, as in your body isn't experiencing.
Realizing you are experiencing.
Exactly. So consciousness is your own individual awareness of yourself and the world around you. Consciousness is the mechanism by which the universe, or God, if you want to put it, uses to experience itself.
Yeah, definitely, because without consciousness, or without the universe rather, like, the universe is always, it can only expand infinitely because consciousness exists. If consciousness didn't exist for the universe to experience itself through, then like the universe would be finite. Through that, we have the creation of planets, galaxies, solar systems, the stars. All of this shit has to do with consciousness, and it all is consciousness, because consciousness is all, and it's the only thing that ever will be.
Yeah, and when you talk about establishing consciousness within humans, when you look at the Bible and the story of the Garden of Eden, it's not until that Eve and Adam eat the apple off the tree of knowledge that they gain consciousness. It's only then they are conscious of the fact that they're naked. They ask God, why are they naked? And that's when you realize that the knowledge that was on the tree of knowledge was the knowledge of the gods. So humans getting consciousness, that was the knowledge of the gods, because it is.
Yes, because until Adam and Eve ate the apple off the tree of knowledge, Earth was in a 5D plane of existence. It was high, it was all peace, love, joy, all kumbaya, but until they ate that apple and they realized, oh, we're naked now, they realized they had consciousness. Until then, they had no consciousness.
Well, they had consciousness, they didn't reach that
they had
level of
high level consciousness.
So when he
until
says,
they ate the apple, they had low levels of consciousness. That's when 3D entered Earth.
Exactly. Consciousness is not physical, so that's why it's sort of a pseudoscience when people talk about it, because science can't really explain consciousness, right? Because consciousness is non-physical.
It just is. It just exists. You can't
consciousness.
Really
It's the ether. It's all things energy, like we talked about yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So when you understand that consciousness is not physical, but you can understand whatever consciousness manifests becomes physical.
Yeah.
So all reality is just a manifestation of consciousness, and the reality that the consciousness is perceiving is the only reason that consciousness exists.
It's
right?
just another way of experience.
Exactly.
And
It's all experience.
Part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can experience it.
We're the
mentally,
physical
so that's
manifestation in this chemical light body of consciousness. We are not living, our consciousness is the only thing keeping this physical vehicle alive.
Exactly. So then when you get
consciousness and the soul without it.
Yes, the soul.
Yeah.
And that's important. We can start talking about the mind, body, spirit complex.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And how the three are separate. So you have, on one hand, you have mind, right, which is your brain, your thoughts, your body, your physical body, and your spirit, right? Those are the three essences that make up you. And the body, right, if you were identifying with your ego, you would say, I am the body, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to say that you're the body, I ski all the time. If I was going to go down the mountain, I was going to do a backflip on skis. Would I have contracted every single muscle to do the backflip and carried out all the intonations and different bends of my body. No, I just naturally had that feeling to do it. My body did it for me.
Yeah.
My body isn't me. My mind.
just
You
do
can consciously view your thoughts at all times. Like, you can understand and see them from a third person perspective. Like, those thoughts, your mind is not you. Then that leaves you with spirit. Right? That's the thing that's left, and that's that conscious awareness.
Yes, because if you detach from ego, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Eckart Tolle here too, all about the ego and awareness. But until you detach from that ego, you can't see, you can't like feel the consciousness. You can't experience the consciousness until you take a step back from that ego. Because like the consciousness allows you to be present in the moment and allows you to always like be aware of what's going on around you. So the mind, body, spirit, I like to describe it as the mind is the driver in the car, right? The physical car, that's your body, that's a physical vehicle. And what's keeping your physical body rather alive?
Spirit, the gas.
Spirit, the soul. So what is keeping the car running the whole time? What keeps the car running?
Engine.
The engine, baby. The engine's the soul. The body's the physical vehicle. And the mind is the brain, the driver, the consciousness. So that's all we got. That's an easy way to understand it, I think. At least the mind, body, spirit complex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a very simple way of putting a very ancient concept, because even the Celts back in Ireland, they had a symbol where they called it a triskele, and it had 3 areas of it, and it was meant to represent the mind, the body, the spirit, and the connection between them in reference to the tree of life that was also very big with them. So it really is something that's been a universal truth almost for a very long time among people that has almost been lost, where people aren't actively trying to work on that connection. It's been severed.
Yeah, I think that humans have been severed from nature per se, right?
Nature.
Like,
I have that book. I have the
We
Celtic
are
book,
nature.
Sacred Earth and Sacred Soul.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Celtics were all about. Taking, Christianity for them and bringing it back with the nature. Bringing it back to the soul of existence.
Yeah.
We've kind of cut ties with nature now. We live in cities, we live in houses. You could go days upon days without setting foot on
Without
grass,
going
right?
outside, yeah.
Without going outside.
Not even setting
People
foot
Without
on
going
grass.
barefoot on the outside.
Bro, I live at college, bro. If I don't go to the gym in New Brunswick, bro, if I don't go to the gym, I got nowhere else to go. I'm staying inside all day. Not getting no sunlight. That's not good for nobody. I don't advise that. I don't advise staying inside.
What I want to talk about next,
What we're talking about is
meditation and mindfulness, and how it allows higher dimensional thinking simply by just being, right?
Yeah.
By understanding that presence and
I have
awareness,
something to say about
right?
this.
Presence and awareness is the key to being, because no negative thoughts, emotions live in the present moment, right? You have to access the past to feel grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
when you're
understand.
just living, you don't feel anything.
Exactly. When you're living, you don't feel anything. You
But
just
it's not
are.
numbness. It's like a
Well,
euphoric of just
exactly,
being. Euphoria of being, right?
Exactly. And then the only way to feel fear is to look to the future, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not looking to the future or to the past, you're not experiencing grief. You're not experiencing fear. Put them together.
You're not feeling any of that shit.
You're not feeling any of it.
Alright, but basically, so yeah, like how does meditation bring you to higher levels of consciousness? Simply by being in the present moment. So example, when I meditate, we'll go back to the David R. Hawkins consciousness scale, right? So within the 5th dimension, that 5D, that's why we named it 5D, that most high level of consciousness that we could live on this planet right now. That's that inner wisdom, that inner love, that oneness. So I sit down every day for about 21 minutes, and I just say for 21 minutes, I'm conscious on my breath, and all I'm thinking about is oneness. Present and feeling what oneness feels like, right? So after those 21 minutes, I get up, I go on my day, I'm doing whatever. But that next time I see someone walking down the street, my mind will automatically be tricked into going back to that oneness. And I'll see that person, instead of thinking, oh, like, who the fuck is this guy? He cut me off in the middle of the street, whatever. Like, I'm now going straight to that oneness and be like, all right, it's okay. Like,
That's me.
that's
It's
me.
like
That's
I've done
just
that before.
that's just a manifestation of myself.
Yeah.
So when you sit down to meditate, you're literally hacking your mind. You're changing your subconscious programming to those high levels of consciousness. And eventually, if you do it enough, you'll literally feel it. You'll feel that oneness. You'll feel all that wisdom, all that love. You got it all. You got more to give than you know.
Yeah, the brain is the smartest computer on the planet, and we're the people that have the privilege to be able to reprogram
Exactly.
it
And like we were saying yesterday, your body is literally light. Like you got, and all higher level conscious thinking is just light love. And I'm telling you, you got a lot of light built up in this body. It's all light. You got a lot. That means you got a lot of love to give.
Exactly.
A lot of love.
Whole lot of love. Whole lot of love.
Boom! Truth bomb
All right.
consciousness.
Next up, I got a quote from a spiritual master, I would say, Eckart Tolle.
Nah, fact check. That's not confirmed.
It might not be confirmed.
That's opinion.
Yeah, that's an opinion.
Opinion,
Okay.
but fact.
Presence is when you're no longer waiting for the next moment, believing that the next moment will be more fulfilling than this one. So there's a good
Source.
The source is Eckart Tolle.
Source.
There's a good analogy for that one that I've heard the monks used, where you have to wash dishes, right? I think it was Jesse Itzler tells the story.
Jesse had thousands of dishes. He went up to a New York State monastery. He was doing like, they had a party for the day. The monks went and washed all the dishes. He had like thousands of dishes to wash. They kept piling dishes. And he said to the monk, "How am I going to finish all these dishes?" And he said, I have so many dishes left. And he was like complaining about it. And the monk simply just said, "You only have the dish that's in your hand." Yeah. And then Jesse says after the monk told him this, he was like, "Wow, like, I'm really not being present in the moment." Because like if you're present in the moment, you simply can't feel any emotions. Rather, the only reason you experience those low vibrational emotions is because you're thinking ahead to the past, or you're thinking about what happened yesterday. Like if you're present, you can't feel anything about being present. It's just,
you just feel
you're
these
just
higher
neutral.
things that you
Exactly.
can't even
And the fourth dimension.
regularly feel.
What does the fourth dimension start at on the conscious chart? Simply starts at neutrality, because that's when you become present. That's the first thing you experience is that presence. After that,
No judgment.
No judgment. After you realize, oh crap, now I'm present. That's when all that extra awareness comes in, because you can now perceive everything that's happening to you. But we got to talk about how do you perceive these things. The pineal gland is key to higher levels of consciousness. It's a little gland in your brain that allows, it's your third eye, it's like in the middle of your brain. It
Looks like a pine
That's why
cone.
it's right here. It looks like a pine cone. It's on a dollar bill, the Illuminati, check it. YouTube, we're
It's
watching
on the
you.
staff of the Pope.
But the third eye, right? It takes you to higher levels of consciousness. Simply by being present of your breath, because all you have is the breath. The only thing keeping this physical vehicle alive is the breath and the soul. But once you tap into that and you're present with that, you can simply feel your third eye opening. And that's why they call it awaken your third eye, rather. Because you're simply, or why I call myself awakened, because I simply did physically awaken that third eye. And until you do that, you will not reach those higher levels of consciousness, because you won't understand how to be present in the moment. You won't have that extra awareness that you get when you open the third eye.
That presence, I would say, would be that sixth sense that they talk about.
That's this,
right? The sixth sense is the pineal gland. So once you open that pineal gland up, you're experiencing
You're tapping into
more
all
than
of
just
the ether.
Exactly, all of the ether you're tapping into.
Because how do you
tap?
tap into ether? What is ether, rather? It's just the energy. It's the fifth element. It's the energy that's all around us. No one likes to talk about the ether, because the ether is simply just light energy. That's all anything is. So when you think about your body being light energy, and you tap into how do you tap into that light energy? By physically being present, conscious of your breath. So you tap into all that light energy and you start vibrating at the same level as the ether all around you. You tap into that electromagnetic field. And once you do that, that's presence, that's pure consciousness. That's tapping into the Christ consciousness, the higher levels of consciousness. Right? Am I right?
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah,
Right,
so you start vibrating, you feel it, you physically, you don't feel nothing.
Yeah.
You feel the eye pulsing, and then you feel that oneness.
I feel almost
You just feel like you are everything else around you, because you're the outside electromagnetic field that pervades outside of my consciousness. I then tap into it by being conscious that I'm even in it, and then I can physically feel what that feels to be, because it's all the same thing.
I think that when I go into deep states of meditation, I almost lose the presence of my body that you generally have
'Cause why?
waking consciousness, right? Because I'm opening up that pineal gland and I'm completely being. And when you're being, I'm not experiencing through all these other emotions, right? Or different feelings that I'm experiencing from, or my senses, right? They just all disappear, then I just am.
And when you separate, you realize you have that light body. You could physically separate it from your physical body. That's called astral projection. We can get in on that another time, but simply all that is pushing your consciousness out of your